Well, there we go. If you didn't catch that, my name is Jacob, and this is Bethany, my wife. So we recently got married, which is fantastic. Whoop whoop to that. So she's come up this morning, which is fantastic. And I was actually part of Yeovil Family Church some years ago now, and I was having work experience, working alongside Sue, Andy, John Keys as well. Don't think he's here. And other people as well in the office. So that means that I had lots of highlights throughout the year. Lots and lots of highlights. And one of those main highlights for me was definitely having a pirate-themed weekend away. I don't know if anyone remembers that. Some of you might not, but I definitely remember that. And that was really, really good fun. And in that main highlight, there's two little mini highlights to why I think that was really a good time. And one of those mini highlights was there was a moment where children, adults, young and old were all worshipping together in the service. And I just thought that was such an amazing time where people connecting with God. And that really did open up my eyes. Like, this is, a family, a church family together worshipping God. And that was one of my mini highlights. And then another little mini highlight was that I got stung by a bee in the eye. You knew that was coming, yeah. So basically, I was coming out the car park, walking along, and I didn't know that there was a beehive in the bush. So I was just minding my own business, just walking, and there was a stream of bees just coming out of the bush. And I didn't know that. So I walked in the line of the stream of bees, and then one of them decided to go for my face and go between my glasses and my eyeball, and it literally stung me right in the eyeball. I didn't know the stinger was in there, but I was encouraged. I think, Sue, you encouraged me, and someone took me to go to the medical centre down the road, and they looked in my eyeball because it was a bit puffy, and they were like, oh yeah, the stinger's still in your eyeball, so the white bit. So they got the tweezers out, and to this very day, I have got the stinger in the pot. It's not a sample pot, but it is a sample pot, but the sample in there is the bee stinger. So if you want to see it later on today, then you can come up to me, and then I'll show you the stinger. But that was one of my many highlights at Yeovil Family Church, which I'll remember forever and ever and ever. So there we go. But today, I wanted to bring you a passage from Luke chapter 10, verses 38 to 42. So if you've got your Bibles, then turn to there. If you don't, then that's okay, because I'll have it up on the screen as well, and we can go through that. Okay. I'll give you some seconds to find that. So Luke chapter 10, verses 38 to 42. So that's the story of Martha and Mary. So let's start with verse 38. As Jesus and the disciples continued on their way to Jerusalem, they came to a certain village where a woman named Martha welcomed him into her home. Her sister, Mary, sat at the Lord's feet listening to what he taught. But Martha was distracted by the big dinner she was preparing. She came to Jesus and said, Lord, doesn't it seem unfair to you that my sister just sits here while I do all the work? Tell her to come and help me. But the Lord said to her, my dear Martha, you are worried and upset over all these details. There is only one thing worth being concerned about. Mary has discovered it, and it will not be taken away from her. So, as I was saying, it's great to be here today. And my wife, she's come up, and we got married in October. So it's just coming up to, October in 2022. So it's just coming up to a year, which is great. And it was such a special occasion for us. The wedding day, there was lots of laughter, drinks, fun, activities. I think it's what a wedding should kind of be all about. It was loads of fun. And before the wedding, we had a good idea of what it would look like and what it would kind of feel like to us. So we knew what we wanted, and we wanted to create lots of joyful moments. And one of the ideas that we had for the wedding was to have a bouncy castle there, because we're basically big kids, and we wanted to enjoy the time bouncing on the bouncy castle. So that was an idea, but then we ordered a pizza catering team, and we thought that pizza-filled children mixed with bouncy castle that was not going to end so well. So we decided against it, but we kept the pizza, and it did go down really well. So, I mean, yeah, that went so well. But we had lots of different ideas as well of what we wanted to do. But the most important thing for us, we knew that we wanted to make room for God on our wedding day, declaring that God is and will be part of our marriage. We had lots of pictures leading up to the marriage, and one of those was the 3 chords. So myself, Bethany, and God is like wrapped around us, keeping us safe together through our marriage. And we just thought that was such a special, special picture. Well, I think a few people gave that to us. So that encouraged us through the wedding, and it still is. And after the wedding day, I just remember actually chatting with Bethany about a variety of different ways, creative ways, to try and make ourselves available to God and to seek him together. So it was kind of our mission to really put him first in our marriage. And Bethany, she's got loads of ideas, suggested a prayer board, which I've brought it in today. So there's a prayer board here, and what we do is we put people's names on there, our friends, family, people that we come across who we could pray for, and we ask God to basically bless them, to heal them for any ailments and things like that. So that's what we did, and whenever God answered our prayers, we would tag them to one side and be like, God is speaking, he is working, and yeah, it's great. So that's one of the ideas. Another idea to put him first was after dinner time, we would sit together, maybe read the Bible together and pray. We did hear those who pray together stay together. It's a bit cheesy, but we did want to pray. So that's the plan. Anyway, that was the plan. So we were kind of like spiritually pumped. We were ready to go. However, it didn't go the way that we planned or wanted it to go, funny enough. We started doing all of these things, but somehow life got in the way. Life got busy quickly, very quickly. Have you ever started something and it soon stopped because other things just seemed, more important? I think definitely that's happened to me. And in our, there's a picture of our marriage, of us getting married. Lots of great people there. And in our passage today, it does say that Martha was distracted, but Mary was sat at Jesus' feet listening. And I think this is a disciple's proper place, sat at his feet listening to him. And even, Jesus was in the room, but Martha's focus was elsewhere. And I think like Martha, we too can become distracted. We too can have our attention come off of God, so our focus comes off of him and then onto other things in life very quickly. And I do have a video clip which I have downloaded and I've attached it, so it should be okay. And it's a little TED talk, and it's about the distracted mind whilst driving. But it just shows you how easy it is just for human beings to become distracted. So I would like to play that. Let's see if this works, because I think it just emphasised my point a little bit further.
Sometimes our mind wanders, and when we snap back to reality, we have no idea what we missed or how long we were gone. Daydreaming isn't the only thing that causes this inattention blindness. When we talk on the phone while driving, there are periods when we go blind to our environment without realizing it. So billboards, cars, kids playing, even stop signs and red lights can pass us by unnoticed. Certain things may seem harmless, but some activities just aren't safe to combine. Our brain is not wired to pay attention to more than one complex task at a time. What we're actually doing when we think we're multitasking is quickly shifting our focus from one activity to another. So while our mind is engaged in applying makeup, arguing with backseat drivers, fumbling for a water bottle, or a conversation, it's blind to the road. In fact, drivers are 4 times more likely to crash while talking on the phone, and 23 times more likely while texting. Driving can feel uneventful, but it really takes our full attention to keep the car on the road. We're surrounded by distractions that can hijack our focus. Whether we let them is up to us.
Oh, not again. So, yeah, I think one of the main sentences in there which highlighted to me was that we are surrounded by distractions that can hijack our focus. Whether we let them is up to us. I think sometimes the distractions that come our way, we have a choice to either let them distract us, or we can be like, no, I'm going to say no to that and focus on the more important in life. So let's face it, there are things that we know distract us. And I just think, what things distract you? We say to ourselves, why do I keep doing that? Or what a waste of time. And I definitely think there are 3 big distractions in life. And I've highlighted 3 for you. So number 1 is definitely got to be our phones. Phones, they are a great resource. I mean, you can connect with people all over the world. You can interact with them as well. And for me and Bethany, we interacted over Zoom. That was like our dating experience during lockdown. So it was really, really helpful there. And we love them. We love our phones so much that a BBC report last year says that an average person spends about 3 to 4 hours a day on their phone. Now, that's a lot of time. And that's spending 3 to 4 hours surfing the internet. So an average person spends about 21 to 28 hours a week on their phone. That's around 1,092 hours a year. That's 10 to 11 years of your life on your phone. And this excludes laptop use, the gaming, Xbox, PC, PS5, watching TV. And this can be considerably more, hate to say it, with teenagers. But, that it does happen. So I feel like phones is definitely, number 1, maybe the biggest distraction. Number 2, if it's not our phones that distract us, then maybe it's an unhealthy relationship with your work. So maybe it's taking work home, which might negatively impact your relationships with your family or your friends. You might say, I just need to finish this off. It will take like 10 minutes. And then 3 hours later, you're doing the same thing. You're still doing your job. And our jobs consume our lives. And have you ever woken up stressing about your job or a meeting that you're going to have the next day? I definitely have done that a few times. So if it's not your phones, if it's not an unhealthy relationship with your work, then number 3, it could be your endless to-do list, your daily to-do list. And this happened to Jesus' friend Martha. Martha was so busy in the kitchen ticking off her to-do list, and she was anxiously cooking a meal, which she thought was 5-star quality. Yet, this was hindering her from getting to know the real star in the room, which is Jesus. So Martha, she was distracted from Jesus. By what? Not her phone, but by serving her guests. Why? Because maybe she was anxious. Anxious about what? Maybe it's because she's feeding everyone, and likely anxious about what everyone would think of her if she didn't do so well. So Martha didn't recognize her distraction until Jesus helped her see it and helped her see her heart. And she thought she was doing the right thing by serving everyone, but Jesus pointed out to Martha that her focus was on the lesser. She needed a shift in focus from lesser to the greater importance in the room, obviously Jesus. And I wonder, do you need a shift in focus this morning? What is your heart desire? Are we being distracted by things that take up our time? Are we choosing the good thing? Are we seeking Jesus with all we got? And if you were to take a moment and think to yourself what things you are using a significant amount of time on, would those things align with your main priorities in your life? If not, then there's a mismatch in our heart and actions. So I would like to give a couple minutes now just to think and reflect and answer these two questions up on the board. This is when like a little teaching thing comes out of me. But there are two questions up on the board. What things are you using a significant amount of time on? And would those things align with your main priorities in your life? What I'd like you to do, I think for about 20 seconds, have a think of that, and then maybe share it to the person near you, what things distract you, if it's appropriate. And if you're an introvert, then maybe just close your eyes and pretend, or just pray to God, and then no one will approach you. You don't need to worry about that. So 20 seconds, when I say that's up, then you can share your distractions with the people around you, okay? Right, so think about those answers to the questions up on the board. Are you spending a significant amount of time on? Go for it. Off you go. If you want to, maybe share it to the person right next to you. Or just close your eyes. What things? Okay. So, I think. So I want you to keep those answers in mind as we explore further how to reprioritize God as front and center in our lives. So, have you ever thought, why is it so hard to put God first? Maybe it's because of the worldly distractions around us and we come up against day to day. Or do you think that in order to make God a priority, it means that we need to give him all our time, all our energy, every second of the day? I remember feeling guilty when my spiritual tick list wasn't complete. So, the Bible, for example, I know that the Bible is really powerful. I know that it is the Word of God, and when I read his words, I know that I'm having an encounter with God. He speaks, and his word is alive today. I know it's important, and that's why sometimes when I don't tick that off my spiritual list, like don't read it in the day, then I can feel really frustrated, and I get annoyed with myself. And time is consumed with other things and thoughts as life just gets busier and busier. And then the guilt grew, which sometimes actually that makes me feel like I need to kind of sometimes push away from the thing that's actually going to help me in that situation. And sometimes when we think about our average day, the idea of making time for God just seems impossible. But making God a priority can feel like a losing battle. So cue the guilt and cue that frustration. But what if we have got a wrong definition of priority? What if our checklist for connecting with God is getting in the way of us being available to him? Perhaps we need a perspective shift. Maybe instead of trying to put God first all the time, we could make him the center in our lives. And Bethany can tell you this, but I used to be an anxious driver. I always want to get from place A to B really, really quickly. And when someone is driving so slowly in front of me, I just think, what are you doing? Come on, I need to get somewhere. And I just want to always get in front of them. Not the best driving technique. But anyway, so I just wanted to get in a hurry. but I was going to get to the same destination on time, but I just felt like I was always in this race. And I remember, I don't know if you've done this before, but going up to traffic lights, it's red, and there's 2 lanes. I'm on the left lane, the right lane, no one's there. But you know that you look up ahead, and the 2 lanes merge into one, and you're like, okay, I'm going to probably get there first, that's fine. And you're like, oh, no one's next to me, that's okay. But then someone pulls alongside you on the right-hand lane, and you're just there like, oh no, someone's there. And then you feel like, no, I must resist temptation. I am not a racer. I will not try and get in front. It's fine, just let them go first. But obviously, knowing me, I wanted to get ahead of them. I just wanted to, I don't know why, but I just wanted to beat them. So I just felt to myself, I needed to beat the other person, and I needed to get ahead. They did beat me in the end, because I did have a Daihatsu, which is very slow. And I think theirs was a BMW, so so they beat me anyway. So anyway, one day, Bethany shared something with me. She's very wise, Bethany, and that changed my thought process about being in the car. She said, Jacob, why are you so anxious about, or when you're driving, just enjoy the journey? And I was like, oh, just enjoy the journey. I've been so focused on getting from one place to the other that I had missed the beauty of the journey. You know, in our relationship with God, it can be just like this. We can be so focused on the destination, maybe that's time with God, that we end up not including him on the journey itself. Or so focused on worldly things that, time with God is not the thing anymore. I'm not saying to not have God first, please do. I think we should have Jesus first and central in our lives. And if he is in the center, it means that he's touching every other part of our life that makes up our journey. And what does that look like? I've got an example. For example, if you're having a meal and you say grace at the beginning of it, that's putting him first, and that's showing that he has provided the meal, And then what is just as, if not more important, is that while we're eating, we should have God at the center of our conversations. It's not like this kind of super spiritual thing, but honoring each other in the way we speak. Lifting each other up in the conversations. And if we just said grace and then had a bad meal time, then the tick box for God at the front, or God first, wouldn't cover us for the whole meal. We want it to be all pleasing for God, most of the time, all the time. And I think when Martha complained that her sister, Mary, wasn't helping her because she was sitting at Jesus' feet, something was wrong there. And then Jesus replied, "My dear Martha, you are worried and upset over all these details. There's only one thing worth being concerned about. Mary has discovered it, and it will not be taken away from her." So Martha, she was providing the entertainment for Christ and those who came with him. And here she showed respect and care for her visitors. It's a nice thing to do. But there was something to blame here for a distraction. She was focused on doing that she missed being. We can be so good at being human doers and not good at being human beings. We should do less of the do and do more of the be with God. And Mary, she had made a discovery. And what is this discovery? Mary had chosen the good portion. And this echoes Old Testament passages where the greatest possession is close fellowship with the Lord as one's portion in life. So you can see that in the Psalms. And her discovery is Jesus. She wants to be with Jesus instead of in the kitchen with her worried sister. So Mary has chosen well, and it will not be taken away from her, neither in her lifetime nor for all eternity. And like Mary, we can make Jesus a priority and come to him and sit at his feet. And remember that TED Talk and that TED Talk video that I showed you on the distracted mind? It showed us how easy it is for us to just get distracted. We're not going to get it right all the time, are we? We're fallen human beings. our focus can get taken away from us really quickly and from other things. We are surrounded by distractions that can hijack our focus. Whether we let them is up to us. We can exercise self-control, a fruit of the Spirit worth exercising. So we can put down our phones. You can get back to your workload another time. Stop ticking your list, because we can be with Jesus. He is waiting. All we need to do is come to him. So, sitting at Christ's feet is good for the soul. It shows the readiness of ourselves to him to receive his word. And we can also include him on our life's journey. We can include him at work, in schools. We can include him in our friendships, our conversations. Just need to make, room with him and just talk to him in all we do. Have Jesus first and central in your life. Time has gone very quickly, but I would love to spend some time now just repositioning your focus on to Christ. So you've heard this sermon about putting Jesus first and at the center, and now I'd love to give you time to be like Mary and sit at Jesus' feet, listening, spending time with him. And I don't know if Phil could come back up and just play a song, and I'd just like everyone just to really kind of go for Jesus and come to him in these few minutes.